It seems to be a day of protests earlier on today ahead of the Tottenham game. The fans were protesting against the ownership. And today at the Manchester United game at Old Trafford, end of the match, there's a sit-in happening right now with the fans continuing to make noise, very much protesting their ownership, saying your debt, not ours, against the Glazer family. Of course, a lot of unrest, particularly given how the seasons have gone, particularly after Sir Alex Ferguson retired from football management. Where do you stand on this, Lee? I mean, obviously, the fans are entitled to believe what they want to believe and say what they want to say, but are you in agreement with them on any level?
To a certain degree, yeah. I think the money that the Glazers take out is probably a little bit too much. I think it's affected the club. I know they spent money on players, but I think the fact that the training ground's shoddy, the Old Trafford's gone a bit shoddy and run down, and the way they've got them into debt at the moment is not right. So I agree with the fans that, you know, if the Glazers are not going to be... They don't come to games, they're never in England, they're not that really bothered. I think they're just happy just taking the money out, and I don't think that's right.
Did you listen to the Gary Neville interview with Sir Jim Ratcliffe, or did you watch it?
I did, yeah, I did.
What did you make of that? Was he making a lot of sense, or was he almost covering in many aspects for the Glazers? Knowing full well he can't badmouth them. No, it'd be very strange if he did.
Yeah, I think he made a lot of valid points. I think he was very honest. I think when the club's in as much trouble as it is, then drastic measures need to be made to put things right, and I think it's something that they are looking at. It's just a shame that these things have to be done. You know, money out of the ex-players fund and taking lunches off people that work there. A small snippets of what really needs to be done, and again.
But notwithstanding all of that, Sharpe, let's be honest about this. They've spent an absolute fortune.
They have spent a fortune. Yeah, they have still spent a fortune. But now they've got themselves in, you know, clubs nearly going bump because of the financial fair play, and it shouldn't be like that at United.
Yeah, they're continuing to pay for players, by the way.
Yeah, well,
that's
look,
the way it goes.
You know, we've seen it at Everton. You know, the recruitment at Everton for years and years and years has been terrible. The same as at Manchester United. Why? That's where the questions. You know, the Glazers. We all know that, and we'll have that conversation again and again and again. But who is responsible for the recruitment? And Man United are in trouble with this because the players are on 3 or 4 year contracts. You know, they've got Rashford, who's gone out on loan to Aston Villa, who's the highest paid player at the football club, who's outstanding at the moment at Aston Villa, but he's clearly not got a future at the football club. The players that they've got at the club who are on big money, I mean, it's going to be hard to get them out. It's going to be hard to bring players in because good players cost money. It's going to be very, very difficult to see how that's going to turn around in a quick space of time.
It's the debt more than anything. I think that they're servicing their debt, and they just keep taking money out. And I think it's just putting the club in a weaker position.
I think it's very difficult for the fans who look at it and go, well, hang on a second. They want to put our season ticket prices up. We're hearing that Manchester United now aren't providing lunches for staff and what have you. And then the club make a decision to appoint a director of football, Dan Ashworth, who they have to pay compensation to Newcastle for, and within a few months they decide he's the wrong man, and they pay him off, and the whole deal has cost them many millions of pounds. So, you know, that one mistake that the club's made has cost many millions of pounds, and it's not millions of pounds you're talking about when you're stopping complimentary lunches to people.
Extending Erik ten Hag's contract.
Erik ten Hag's contract, again, which has cost them millions again. I mean, I don't get that. If the decision was to get rid of Ten Hag, right, then why give him a new contract?
Well, it should have been done after the cup final.
Should have been done after the cup final.
So they made the mistake, they made a big mistake, a costly mistake of keeping him on, because a few months later they decided that they'd kept him on, and that isn't what they should have done. So they have to get rid of him, they pay him off. And I think that's where the fans, the general public, find it really hard to work it out and comprehend what the club is actually doing. Sounds like they're trying to save a few pennies here, but they're wasting millions over there.
Yeah. I think some people were a bit concerned that no one advised Sir Jim Ratcliffe that, OK, if you're going to cut the ex-players' funds, at least have a fundraiser involving current players and retired players. You can probably make more than the 40,000 which is allocated just by having a dinner with Bruno Fernandes and Harry Maguire. or whoever is in the current team?
Yeah, you'd like to know who's in on the meetings that they're having.
Jason Wilcox, who's an ex-player, you would think that he would be aware of this.
Yeah, some of them are just a million miles away from ground level, aren't they? And they don't really know how to do things simply. And I think Ineos have made some probably good moves, but some really, really poor decisions along the way. Like you mentioned with the guy that come from Newcastle.
Dan
Ashworth, and then the new contract to Ten Hag. After shopping around for other managers, it's just been a shambles, and I think you can see it on the pitch today. It's just that little bit of, it is coming together, but then it's not coming together. It is and it's not. And at the moment, it's still that rebuilding, that regrowing that's still a little bit messy. It's going to be a huge summer.
All right, before we move on, final question. What did you make of the stadium design that was unveiled? And is that this area of focus they should be looking at right now, looking at building a new stadium? Or are there more important things? Carlton first. Did you like the stadium?
I like the stadium. I think it's a good move. Listen, the one thing about Sir John Ratcliffe, right, he's a very successful businessman. To be a successful businessman at the level he is, you don't get to that without having to make tough decisions. You've got to have a vision, you've got to have a plan, and you've got to go with it. And sometimes those decisions are going to be unpopular. I think we've all agreed they need a new stadium, they need new training facilities, and it's all about moving the club forward. He will have a plan for that. And so, of course, I think, funny enough, when Gary Neville did that interview, the way Gary's come across, I would have liked to see somebody like Gary involved in the club, from somebody who's been so successful with the club, who's very knowledgeable. He could impart a lot of help to Sir John Ratcliffe in terms of Jim Ratcliffe, sorry, in terms of moving the club forward.
All right. Your thoughts on the stadium?
What, on Jim or John?
Either or.
Either or.
Well, the stadium looks fantastic. My concern would be there's presumably a cost to do that at the moment, but when it comes to actually doing it, if that is indeed what happens, it will go over budget, like all of them do. They all go over budget, don't they? Spurs had it with their fantastic stadium. It cost them a huge amount more than the original pricing. So where do those funds come from? You know, when Arsenal sorted out the Emirates Stadium, you know, Wenger, had to deal with the fact that he had less funds for players on the pitch. So, Manchester United, fantastic new stadium as and if and when it comes, but they're going to have to be careful, or they're going to be maybe restricted on what players they can come in. So is that what the fans want? We'll have a fantastic new stadium, but we're going to really struggle somewhat on the pitch, and they're struggling now because we don't have the funds to buy the players.
And I'm sure year by year costs will go up as well,
yeah,
with tariffs and all coming into play.
Of
so
course.
Who knows? Did you like the stadium, Sharpe? Did you like the design? Are you sold on it? Are you thinking, wow, this is the type of stadium where Manchester United should be playing football? Or were you a bit apprehensive?
No, I think, listen, I mean, the way the stadium looks is neither in nor there at the moment. It does look impressive, but it's got to be not just the stadium, it's got to be the surrounding areas. It's got to, like Man City, the owners of Man City have gone in and they've rebuilt the whole area. They've not just built a new ground, they've built like a new training ground, they've built like schools, and it's a whole new community, and I think that's what needs to be done. It needs to be a bigger venture, and that's part of the bigger picture, but they've got to get the team and what's going on the pitch right first, otherwise they're going to end up with no team, not in Europe, and not filling the stadium, which is going to be a waste. I think the stadium will bring in money because, like Tottenham, it will be used throughout the week when there's not just games on. So it will bring in extra revenue once it's done, but it's going to cost them. And like Gary says, Arsenal had to scupper the spending in the transfer market because of the new stadium. Are United going to have to do that? And they don't need that restriction at the moment.